See the moonlights on the town. Whoa, I'm getting ready. Tallawah TV is in the town. Whoa, I'm getting ready. Got a corner on the telephone. Yeah, this is the Ocean of the Messenger, and you're watching Tallawah TV with the host and best Davis. Take it away.
My Tallawahs, how are you all? Good afternoon, good evening, or possibly good night, depending on where you are in the world. It is now approximately 4 minutes to 10. So it's quite late over here, but I know I've given you guys later live streams. So the big news is out. I'm pretty sure you guys are all aware of the news. For some of you, perhaps Christmas has come extra early for you with this bit of news that broke some hours ago with JFF, the Jamaica Football Federation, announcing the departure of head coach, Reggae Boyz legend Theodore Tappa Whitmore. And there's so many news that's going on being filtered out from the Jamaica Football Federation. So we're going to touch on that later on. I can see some of you are in the comment section already. Big up yourself, Travis. You guys know the drill. You know how it works. Please do check out Believed Baller for some of the coolest content around Jamaican footballers. Nice bite-sized videos of goals being scored all across the globe from Believe Baller. So please do check them out. So guys, it's time to discuss Reggae Boyz. Reggae Boyz, the Jamaica Football Federation firing or sacking coach Tappa Whitmore. It took some time, hasn't it? The news, or at the time, the alleged rumor at the time, some weeks ago, was that Tappa has been relieved of his duties. That has now been officially confirmed. And I have gone and recruited one of my dear friends. It's such a shame that he supports Liverpool, or Killerpool as he probably prefers to call them. I've gone and recruited one of my friends to sit and digest what we've just been told, as I said some hours ago, about Tappa leaving and Mr. Paul Hall coming in as the interim head coach for the duration of our World Cup campaign. So let me go for my special guest. As I've just said to you guys, Mr. Liverpool himself, Mr. King Carlyle. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you, Crystal?
I am well. I cannot complain. How's your day going?
Well, not bad. I'm here waiting. I heard the news, and from the get-go, I was always the one screaming Tappa out, Tappa out. But before I get into saying Tappa out, right, I've got to say this. Take away nothing from Tappa as a player. He's a legend. He always will be. He was our World Cup goal scorer. He was our World Cup star. So I want to give him his props on that. But as a manager, trash.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of people who could definitely agree with you. Definitely where you said that, take nothing away from his legendary status. He is and always will be a Reggae Boyz legend. I think that was one of the things when I started talking to you about football, aside from club football, you was always concerned about the possibility of him like tarnishing his legacy.
Exactly that. I said it. He wasn't ready for the step up. That was a major step. And it was a bit of a, for want of a better word, a dolly house game. Because remember, they fired him once before and then they couldn't find anyone, so they gave him back his job. That was absolutely ridiculous. I've never seen that happen in international football, where they fired a manager for not being capable, but because you can't find anybody else, you rehire him. He's still the same person.
What does that say about the federation? Because like I said, for people who I'm asking you these questions, for people who don't know you, because obviously me and you have had so many conversations, I know your feelings towards the federation more so than Tappa. But like you've said, they fired him once before because he wasn't the man for the job, but then went and rehired him. So what does that say about the Jamaica Football Federation?
It goes to show the incompetence of the federation, because as bad as Tappa was as a coach, he had so many constraints based on the incompetence of the Jamaican Football Federation. I'm one of the people that most people on here will see me in the comments. I'm like JFF out, because they're rubbish as well. We need a governing body that's going to aid whatever coach we put in charge. I'm hearing Paul Hall's going to be the coach. If the JFF is still handling business the way they were handling it with Whitmore, he could be Jurgen Klopp. We're still not going to get the results we need because the administration behind that is not providing the coach with the tools. It's like being a mechanic and you've got no tools. You know how to fix the car, but how are you going to fix it when you're not being provided with no tools to work with?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you there about the incompetence around the Jamaica Football Federation. And it's been like that for decades. Most certainly, if we're looking at, well, both the Reggae Girls and the Reggae Boys, but if you're focusing on the men's side of things, it's been almost close to 30 years since they were at the World Cup.
France 98.
Yeah, exactly. France 98. So the big question mark and the big worry there for me will always be surrounding the Jamaica Football Federation. And what do you also make of the time? Because I obviously touched on that in the build up to introducing you. We heard about this some weeks ago about Tappa being relieved of his duties, and then there was like denial left, right, and center.
Exactly.
And then now some weeks later it's finally being made official. Why did they make us wait so long?
Again, I think that just goes down to poor organization, because it was an open secret from the initial, when every newspaper, every media house ran with he's been sacked. Then the JFF come out and put out this big statement, no, he hasn't been sacked, we're waiting. So was it a case of them trying to get someone else, couldn't get someone else, but knew they couldn't keep him? But it just boils down again to more incompetence from our governing body. Because you everyone else knew he's been fired, then you come out and deny it, and then today you popped up, oh, he's been fired now. So what was the big secret?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I can't quite put my finger on the way they choose to operate, why they do so.
Yeah, and it's not like we had a game and they wanted to give him one last game or something. He was fired before the next round, so why wait? At least if they had confirmed it then, confirmed Paul Hall, then given Paul Hall even more time to set his infrastructure, to sit down with them and told them what tools he would need, what he needs, what he requires to try and get us to the World Cup within these last 6 games. That would make so much more sense. But you deny it. You've got Whitmore hanging over Hall. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, just before Christmas, there you go. You're fired. Hall, you've taken over. Everyone's breaking up for the holidays. No one's thinking about football right now.
Yeah, it's a tactical approach when you put it like that, in terms of how they chose to do the announcement. And again, it's just really weird because Paul Hall has been under your nose for some time now. So directly, like you said, it's not as if we have a game coming up where you could say that, hold off until the final game has been played, until we take a temporary pause before we resume. There's no games being played until January. Paul Hall is right under your nose. So there and then it should have just been signed, sealed, delivered. There you go. This is who we're working with.
Yeah.
No rumor, no nonsense, just straight to the point.
Exactly that. Exactly. Give him a chance to set his mandate. Give him a chance to ring the players, to let the players, the senior players know, listen, I'm going to be in charge right now. This is what I expect of you as the senior pros going forward. This is my idea to bring the country forward. This is what I'll need to take us to the World Cup. Let him get his mandate in there. Let him get his philosophy in there, even if it's just verbally for now. Instead of doing all this nonsense. When you think about it, we've got a game in January. It's almost mid-December. You've just made this announcement. Christmas, the whole Christmas holiday period finishes. December's like 2 weeks every year. December is literally 2 weeks. So by the time everyone's come back from their holidays, it'll be time for a game. Has he had an opportunity to talk to his senior players? Will he get that opportunity, or will it be a case of the players fly down on Monday, they have one meeting on Tuesday, and then Wednesday they got a football match? It's going to be the same cycle again.
The transition doesn't sound smooth.
It doesn't make any sense. I was very young during the whole France 98 thing, but I specifically remember under Rene, they had to rent a house somewhere. The local players had to arrive a week before for training camp, and then the overseas boys would come like maybe 3-4 days, but they would all get an opportunity to train, to study, to talk, to get that cohesion as a team. Jamaica has
Professional
no
operation.
cohesion. When you watch them play, there's no cohesion because they don't know each other.
Yeah.
Remember that football has advanced, football's changed. We had no MLS during France 98. Now we've got MLS. We've got players playing in the MLS. We've got players playing in that USL. We've got players playing in the Premiership. We've got players playing in Sweden, Norway. We've got players all around.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to bring them together to say, sit down, lads, get to know each other, get that cohesion. People can know when to make a run, what space that player is going to pass the ball into. You're not going to get that with one training session.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was a hindrance to Whitmore's reign as well, because he kept getting one training session, go to the match. Now, I know Whitmore's not the most tactically astute manager. His tactical awareness was zero, because he literally played playground football. Kick it and everybody chase it. But he still didn't get the opportunity to sit with the players for a couple of days and say, listen, our playground football is going to go like this.
Yeah.
And if the JFF doesn't provide Paul Hall with these tools, with the chance to get the players to get that cohesiveness and cohesion together, I really can't see us qualifying, even if, as I said, Paul Hall turns out to be Jurgen Klopp. It's not going to happen because there will be no team.
You've actually picked up on some interesting points there and interesting facts as well. I remember when we was about to embark on our World Cup qualifying campaign, first match, opening match against our fierce rivals, Mexico. And I kid you not, 4 days, by then Mexico had been with a team. Just like you said, met up on camp, players are getting to know each other, building their chemistry. 4 days later, we hadn't completed our first training session. And
Exactly.
then, of course, then you have to ask yourself, who do you blame? I think at that point, people were, putting the blame on Tappa and saying that Tappa should have, gotten the team together. But for me, that sounds like an administrator.
Of course, that's a logistics issue.
Yeah. Exactly, it's something that the federation should have sorted out beforehand.
100%. That's definitely the federation. Like, I believe now that we possibly have the most talented group of players that Jamaica's ever seen of our generation, I would say, because I know the older generation will probably talk about Alan Skill Cole and some people I've never seen play, but of our generation, this is the most talented pool of players I've ever seen. Yeah. But talent only goes so far. You need a team. And if the JFF can't sort out their administrative parts to get that team together, to get that team to know each other, we can never move forward. And I think that's one of the major stumbling blocks of Jamaican international football right now, is the lack of the team. And I think, that was one of the things that really, really, because to me, I feel like this is the weakest the CONCACAF region has been in ages. And this is the strongest Jamaican team. So really and truly, we should be taking it hands-on. Mexico, who's the powerhouse, a week. The USA, another powerhouse, weak. All the other teams, we used to beat them for fun. Yeah, we were literally the third best team in CONCACAF for years. How have we got the most talented group of players now, and yet still we haven't moved up a level when the other two powerhouses have dropped off form? USA was there for the taking in the last game we played against them. The game we played against Mexico, they were there for the taking. Each time we stumbled.
It's going to be interesting, to say the least, what happens in 2022 when we look at our final remaining games in our World Cup qualifying campaigns. I have to ask you, because it will be silly not to. Can Mr. Paul Hall turn this one around?
Can he turn it around? I think he's got all the firepower there to turn it around. I think he really does. And I think if he gets the tactics right and he gets the support, I 100% believe he can turn it around. I 100% believe that we can go to the World Cup. But again, it boils down to the support he's going to get behind the scenes. You understand? We have players like, there's no way we could deny that we could turn it around. You've got players like Leon. If Leon stays fit, superstar. Mikel Antonio looks like he's enjoying playing for Jamaica now. He's a finisher. We've always lacked a clinical finisher that needs one chance and kill it. We got Shamar, excellent.
Shamar Low as well.
Low, excellent. Tyreek McGee, some of the other young Jamaican footballers that are plying their trades overseas and doing extremely well. We've got players that haven't. There's that Alex Marshall. I think he's in Canada or somewhere. He's someone else that we can look at also. Plus, we've got the British Blade players. The guy at Brentford, I forget his name.
Pinnock. You have Pinnock.
Got Pinnock. We've got one off, if not the best goalkeeper in the MLS. So we've got everything there. We just need to put it together.
Yeah.
That's all we have to. Once we put it together, I do not feel anyone in CONCACAF can actually stop us.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see us going on a run. I can see us winning 6 straight. Even if it's 6 straight 1-0s, I can see us doing it.
It is definitely possible.
It's possible. It's down to the support.
Yeah. A bit like yourself, I can most certainly see us going on a healthy run of games and chalking off the last remaining 6 games and actually doing what some believe to be the unthinkable. And the reason why I say this is I think when I look at, everything that you've said, taking stuff into consideration in terms of the players that we have, the quality that we have across the pitch. You talk about our firepower. You talk about Mr. Andre Blake, one of the best goalkeepers there is, not just in the MLS, but just period. He's
period. We've got Ravel. Let's not forget him as well. Morrison.
I know you're a massive Ravel fan.
Ravel's my guy.
Big up
Ravel Morrison.
Just we definitely, like you said, we have the tools on the pitch. It's just about us being able to utilize what we can. And with that being said, I have to agree with you that I do think that we can qualify for the World Cup. But my big worry with that, Carlyle, is I do think that we're about to hit that honeymoon period. Everybody knows what the honeymoon period is like. It's when everything is rosy.
That new manager bump.
Everything goes your way. Even VAR, I'm going to touch on VAR later on because this is going to be music to your ears as well. VAR may even go our way in the next couple World Cup qualifying fixtures that's coming our way in early January, and then we'll continue as the qualifying period pans out. My big worry is that honeymoon period. Like we said, that is where everything goes your way. That's when you do the unthinkable. That's where you beat the likes of Mexico, Canada, and the USA. But the big downside to that is, are we then putting ourselves in a position where we unfortunately, unintentionally paper over the cracks?
It could very well do that, because the euphoria and the Jamaican football public are very fickle. 3 games and we're champions of the world. Like, if we win 3 on the bounce, we're champions of the world. They won't even care about the administrative issues that we got. So we could fall into that trap. I just hope that Paul Hall is a legend for Jamaica. I think he's been a professional for so many years. He should be able to say, listen, look, this is what I require. I think Whitmore was a bit of a yes man. Do you know? I think that's why JFF even put up with him for so long, because he just did what he was told. And I hope that Paul is of a different build. So he'll say, listen, this is what I need. No, this has to go that way. Because sometimes as a manager, you have to put your foot down.
Yeah.
And in terms of not papering over the cracks, it's up to him to put his foot down to say, listen, that's not going to work. This is what I need. Do this so I can deliver on what you're paying me for.
Where do you think that comes from? Because you're basically talking about going back to Tappa, you're talking about the puppet and the master, that yes man mentality. Where do you think that comes from, and why do you think it's allowed to continue when we have certain managers coaching or leading the ship?
It all boils down to you as a human being. I think with Whitmore, I think he's not been a manager for very long, as far as I know. I know he managed was it Seba United in Jamaica? I think it was. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then he jumped from Seba to become the national coach. Now, sometimes when you make such a leap, you're just so grateful to have that big job now. You've like, wow, I've jumped from there to up top of the pole. I don't want to crack any eggs. I don't want to rumble anything. So anything they tell me to do, I'm going to do. And I think that could have been part of what happened to him, where he was just like, yes, boss, yes, boss, yes, boss. Because when you develop and you've won things and you know your worth, you know who you are, you know, yo, I am this manager, I'm Fabio Capello, and you've hired me. You hired me to do a job. So give me what I need and let me do the job. You don't tell me what to do. But when you've hired Joe Bloggs from down there to be the manager, Joe Bloggs is just so thankful that he's the manager of a nation. Listen, anything you tell me to do, boss, I'm going to do, because you've given me this job and this opportunity. And I think that's the difference. So why I say I hope Paul's stronger, because obviously Paul's been at QPR. He's got his coaching badges, his UEFA licenses and all that kind of stuff. So he's been around big atmosphere. He would have been around big egos. He would have had to navigate certain
professional standards.
Exactly. That Whitmore probably wouldn't have. So
Yeah.
he'll be able to stand up for himself and say, listen, this is what I need and this is what needs to happen. So I feel like he'll have that more swagger to him.
Let me just pause you there for a second. Someone's asked, Ian has asked, Ian's always say along with the rest of the guys, King, Jav, Travis says, these guys are always here on my live stream. Ian is saying, who is your guest? I don't know if I'm the best person to describe this or if I should hand it back over to yourself, Carlyle.
Me, I'm just a football fan. I'm a Liverpool fan, first and foremost, but I'm a lover of football in general. So I tend to make my observations based on the love of the game.
Yeah. There you go, Ian. I hope that one answers your question. I'm going to also take another quick pause with what you were saying. And I touched on VAR, and I just read out a short statement that was put out by the press officer, the Jamaica Football Federation press officer, Mr. Earl Bailey, some hours ago. And he said VAR, the infamous video assistant referee system, will be on place for all the remaining World Cup qualifying games starting January 27. Jamaica will host Mexico at the National Stadium. VAR will be up and running for the first time in Jamaica. And what a way to kick off his World Cup head coach career with Jamaica. If Mr. Paul Hall can do what many are framing as the unthinkable, beat your face rivals on home soil, face rivals Mexico. And wouldn't it be funny if it is VAR that somehow plays into our advantage, being that VAR was missing from our last home game against the USA?
You know what? I hope the VAR is nothing like how it's been in the Premiership, to be fair. But it has its pros and its cons, and it could very well turn against us. So I'm praying that it is done, I can't say correctly, but to the best of it can. Hopefully it will go for our side.
Put it to good use is what you're trying to say then, right?
Yeah.
That remains to be seen. I know what you're like. Sometimes VAR can either work for you or it can heavily work against you. Let's hope that whoever is behind VAR, let's just pray and hope that they're not from the CONCACAF region.
I think, can I address? Okay, I think Ian is saying Marshall's not good. I'll tell you that even if he's not playing well at the moment, I remember a time when Alex Marshall was getting watched by Liverpool, by Leicester, by Arsenal. There is no way a player's getting watched by teams of that caliber and he won't be good. He might not be playing well now, or he might not be doing well at the moment. Maybe he's not applying himself, but the talent is obviously there.
Yeah, I think I'll definitely back you on that. And I see Travis here saying that he needs to go to a higher league. And I definitely have to second that. It's just like you said, some seasons ago, there was a host of clubs in London. Leicester City, when Leicester City were high flying, they were linked with Marshall as well. So yeah, couple hot teams in the Premier League, the biggest league
Liverpool
for me, the
sent
best.
scouts to Jamaica to watch
Yeah.
Alex Marshall.
Yeah, so I think that he is good. I think maybe Ian, the best way to frame what you've said is perhaps to say that his development probably
Hasn't
hasn't
improved.
pan out.
Yeah.
Exactly, his development probably hasn't pan out the way that he would like to see it pan out. But I definitely think there's a good player there. His nickname, let me remind everyone of his nickname. His nickname is
Messi.
Messi. You know,
Exactly.
Alex Messi Marshall. So to say that he isn't good, you're probably better off saying that his development over the last recent years hasn't been good, because he's definitely a good player in my eyes. Let's see what everybody else is saying. Over Ian is saying that I take it, Ian, you're just not a fan
You're
of
just
those
not a
type of
fan of
players.
either of them.
You know, not everyone's gonna be a cup of tea, so I'm not gonna knock you on that. But I think on this occasion we're just gonna have to agree to disagree on that one, Ian. Because we're seeing two different types of players when they do take to the field. But I definitely think that we have two good potential in Peter Lee and Alex Marshall as well. What do
100%.
you think, Carlyle?
100%. 100%. I do see two good. And one thing about me, I love watching a young player develop and come through the ranks. It's like it's an absolute dream to see where they've come from. It's like watching the whole Gerrard story all again, coming through and becoming great. And I do think Peter Lee, I've seen some good touches for him. Tyreek McGee, I've seen some good things from him. And as I said, prior to where Alex being in Canada or wherever he is now, I saw some excellent stuff from him as well. So I do think there's some talented players there. It's just about, with all talent, it's about application, it's about dedication. So players can fall off even though they've got the talent because they don't dedicate themselves to the game properly. So he might not make it, but that doesn't take away from the fact that he is a talented young player.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's look at Paul Hall once more. As we've already touched on, he's going to be in charge of our next string of games. The next 6 games that's coming our way will be led by Mr. Paul Hall. He will be taking over the head coach position for the Reggae Boyz, the senior Reggae Boyz team. How are you looking at this one, Carlyle? Because in my mind, I'm looking at this as this is now the building blocks, and the building blocks is for this current World Cup qualifying campaign and also the next one as well.
100%. And I think my thing is Paul Hall is interim manager. I'm kind of happy he wasn't given the job full time. I'm happy he's given the job on the basis of prove yourself.
Yeah.
And then you can be our national coach.
Yeah.
That keeps him on tenterhooks, so to speak. So he's gonna have to. I really want to see what his first squad's gonna be like. I want to see who he actually calls. I want to see if he calls up his squad or if he goes with the status quo of the same few players that's been called up over the last few cycles.
It's an interesting one that Carla that you've touched on. Yeah, we're definitely, I think this short contract that he has definitely will keep him on his 10 toes, and that will probably work in our favor. But like you said, it will be interesting to see the players that he calls up, bearing in mind that we are saying that this is the building blocks. This is now where we start over, not necessarily a new chapter, perhaps even a fresh new book. Do you think now is going to be the time, or is now the right time for us to try and get that balance between those young fruitful players and the well-established senior players as well?
100%. I think it's 100% the time to get the balance right, because one, it could aid us in our qualifications, or two, it could build us for the next World Cup cycle. So it's a win-win situation if we get that balance right. I also feel like certain fringe players who we were attempting to get over, like Damari Gray, we really need to go out and grab ourselves Damari Gray and a few Ben Godfrey and a few others that they were trying to. Ivan Toney, let's push the boat out and try and grab a few more of those players. Obviously, there's talented players in Jamaica. I know the Premier League was off for a while for Corona, but I think it's begun again. So I don't feel like they should also alienate the local players.
Definitely.
But the local players also need to step up and know that this is international football. Drinking down the bar after the game ain't going to work. You need to get your fitness levels up. There's talented players in Jamaica. There's so much talent in Jamaica. Like, we are extremely talented. But again, application. Do you know what I mean?
I like what you've said there, and there's definitely areas that needs to be worked on in terms of that professionalism that you talk about, how the players carry themselves, not just when they are around the national side, but also stuff that they do on social media, particularly when they link up for international duties. We've seen some shocking stuff in the past. Off late, I will be honest, that I've not seen some of the scary stuff that we've seen, some of the stuff that we've not perhaps reported on, because we're not trying to build bad vibe and bad press for the senior team. But like I said, like you quite rightly put it, there is some stuff there that we do need to brush up on, not just how we conduct ourselves on the field of play, but also off it as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think also Paul needs to get the backing of his senior players. So people like Bailey, people like Morrison, people like Antonio, people like Lowe, Blake. He needs to have that core circle of players around him to say, listen, we need you guys to grab the younger players, to grab the less experienced players, to grab the Finns players by the neck and pull them up and say, listen, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity for you guys. Most of you guys will never, ever, ever get the opportunity to play on the world stage again. So let's get up and let's go and do it.
I like what you've said there. I like what you spoke about playing on that world stage as a young, promising footballer, whether you're a girl or a boy. Surely the dream is to go to the World Cup with your country.
100%.
Surely that's the perfect starting point when you're trying to persuade someone like Amari Gray to come play for us.
Exactly. That is the dream. I based on how the England setup is, I don't think certain players have a chance to ever play for England. And I don't want them to play for Jamaica just because they can't play for England. I really want them to be patriotic and say, listen, when I'm eating my jerk chicken and I'm dancing to my Bob Marley, I love Jamaica. Jamaica is the home of my family. My household was Jamaican. So I want them to pull the shirt on with pride. Don't come over here if you're just coming to go to the World Cup, but come over here if you want to help Jamaica. Like, person like Daniel Sturridge never played for Jamaica, but Daniel Sturridge was extremely proud Jamaican.
Authentic.
He went back, he gave back, he loved Jamaica.
Yeah.
So someone like Daniel Sturridge switching and coming over to Jamaica, I would applaud that straight away.
Yes,
so I want people like Sturridge that's got that Jamaican in them, that loves Jamaica, that's proud. Don't come
100%.
just to get on the flight, to turn up, to come at the World Cup and say you played at a World Cup because you know you can't get into the England squad. But come if you know that you're going to dedicate yourself to Jamaica and you're going to 100% represent our country and our nation fully and wholeheartedly.
I love the way you frame that in terms of us trying to scout authentic players. And this is one of the main talking points when I spoke to Joel Grant some months ago, when Joel was like, look, you didn't need, and nobody, JFF didn't need to persuade me to come and play for Jamaica. You know, although I'm born in England, I bleed the black, green and gold of Jamaica. And it's interesting that you've made that connection to someone like Daniel Sturridge, who has done charitable work in Jamaica as well. So those are the players that you should be aiming for. Like you said, you don't want to be recruiting someone who isn't going to play for England, so therefore should come and play for us.
I think another player who I have to give a shout out to as well, who's like that, is Kemar Roof, because I knew Kemar Roof declared for Jamaica for a long time before Jamaica even looked at him. Kemar was declared for Jamaica for ages. When he was at Leeds, he had declared for Jamaica and they wouldn't look at him. And I was like, why are you not looking at Kemar? So to see him actually playing for Jamaica now, I know he's not just someone jumping on the boat. Kemar is someone that's wanted to play for Jamaica for a really long time.
I think Ian is talking about, I'm going to go back and talk about, I mean, Mr. Morris, I'm gonna have to pull you up here. You're saying that Alex Marshall is not called Messi. I'm pretty sure Alex Marshall
Alex
has
Messi
been called
Marshall. That was his
Alex
nickname.
Messi Marshall.
That
I'm
was
gonna
his
need
nickname.
you, Mr. Morris. I'm gonna need you to go and do some homework, do some quick research for me on that one. Maybe I am wrong. If I am wrong, I will
You are
apologize.
totally not wrong, because I've heard that nickname
I am
too.
almost certain.
Alex, from his schoolboy football days, he was
Alex
called
Messi
Alex
Marshall.
Messi Marshall.
So, Mr. Morris, you might have to go and do some homework for me and get back to me before I close off on the live stream. Like I said, if I am wrong, I will most certainly apologize. And look who is here as well, Mr. Kemoy Reed. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure to see you around, Doc. But yeah, going back to what we were saying, I just lost my train of thought.
We were talking about players that want to represent Jamaica for wanting to represent Jamaica and not just jumping on the bandwagon because they can't play for England.
Yeah, so yeah, I think that's definitely something that we need to look at. That's not to say that someone like Damari Gray wouldn't want to play for Jamaica. I don't know Damari Gray's feelings, but
I think to be fair, another thing I've been knocking the JFF all night, but also I got to give them their props, because I think, to be fair, Paul Hall is actually a good signing in terms of, I don't know if his experience, so to speak, outside of youth football, but the mere fact he was a member of the France 98 English contingent, I feel that he could sit down and have a chat with a few of these players like Gray, tell them of his experience, tell them of how he fell in love with the nation, why he's come back to be a manager of the nation. And he could help them, push them just over the line to say, listen, come and represent your home country. Come and represent the country of your grandparents and maybe possibly even your parents. And let's take our nation. Because I would like to see Jamaica partying once again on a world stage.
I'm gonna have to pause it once more there, Carlyle, and go back to the comment section, because there's got a few people here saying that nope, it isn't. Alex, guys, I think in this case both of them have been referred to as Messi. I'm gonna stand firm on that one, because I'm pretty certain I've heard Alex Marshall being called
Messi.
Messi Marshall. I'm sure there's even an Instagram account out there that's called Alex Messi Marshall. Yeah, that doesn't belong to Alex himself. That's not a verified account. But the point I'm trying to make is there was a fan base out there that was calling Alex Messi Marshall. There's definitely Instagram pages out there with that name, guys. So that's where myself and my guests got it from. But I'm not disagreeing with what you guys have said. But I do think in this case, both players have been labeled as Messi because of their technical ability.
And the whole left foot thing.
Yeah. So this one, I think, like I said, Ian and King Jav, we're gonna have to agree to disagree on that one. Just based off what I've seen in recent years around Alex Marshall. Alex seems to be getting a lot of talking points going. Let's see what Travis is saying.
Saying if he got the contract at Schalke, he would definitely be a better player.
There we go. And this is what we were saying to Ian, that it's not necessarily about Alex not being a good player. It's more about his development.
Yeah,
it's his development that's been an issue.
And the competition. If your level of competition is below you, then you're obviously going to play to that standard. You're not going to be pushed to go harder or higher.
Yeah. So that's how it is. I thought it was a bit of a strange one as well when I saw him. When I saw Alex move over to the Canadian League, I'm like, you might as well stay in Jamaica and play in the Premier League. No disrespect to the Jamaica Canadian league, but top league in Canada, I don't think it's better than the Jamaica Premier League, and the exposure. How many people watch the Canadian Premier League? How many people would watch that compared to the Jamaica Football League and the Jamaica Football Premier League? And the Jamaica Football Premier League now is more accessible than ever before. So maybe there's some stuff there for Alex to think about. I can't see him staying in Canada for too long. No disrespect to Canada, but I think he's levels above what's
I
currently
think
on
so.
his plate.
I think maybe he saw it as a stepping stone to the MLS, maybe, or the USL.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the idea behind signing in Canada. He's closer to the MLS or he's closer to the USL. But
Yeah.
based on the teams that were looking into him, I think he should have remained in Jamaica also.
Definitely should have remained in Jamaica. Like I said, I can't see him staying in Canada for too long. Let me just do a quick search there. You can continue, Carl. I'm just gonna do a quick search on Alex with his club situation
Yeah, so
in Canada.
I just hope that we can come out after the first set of games with something confident, possibly a
Yeah.
victory against Mexico. Like I said, Mexico is not the Mexico of old. Mexico are extremely weak right now. And to me, the best team of the qualification round so far has been Canada. And when we played Canada, they didn't look awesome.
Could have beaten them.
We could have beaten them. Canada has one player, which is the Bayern guy, Alphonso Davis. Like he's head and shoulders above the rest of them. But apart from that, there's no standout Canadian to me. Oh, there's that. His name John. There's a striker that they've got. I think he plays in France or something like that.
Yeah, I know who you're referring
Yeah,
to.
he's kind of okay as well. But I still feel that we're stronger than them.
Definitely think that we could most certainly when we first played them some months ago, definitely 100 they were there for the taking. That's the most frustrating part.
They were there for the taking, and again it boils down to Tappa's lack of tactical knowledge.
Yeah.
The playground football that he wants to play, Jamaica had no middle. Every time I watched the game, we had no middle. Defense, boot it over the midfield. Strikers, you're fast, run after it. Literally, that was it. And without a middle of the park, Jonathan David, thank you, Kem. Without the middle of the park, we are never going to go nowhere.
Yeah.
Do you get me?
Because the middle of the part,
that's the engine room.
Exactly. Essentially, that's what keeps the motor going. So if there's nothing there to operate with, chances are you're not going to be able to string any passes together and keep your team going. It's just you're all going to fall apart.
Exactly that. His as I said, I was always someone that was screaming Tappa out, Tappa out, Tappa out, Tappa out. Because he was not ready for this level of football. Yeah. Maybe if he goes back down, he does what he needs to do, maybe in like 5 years, he could try again, or 10. But Tappa was never ready to be an international coach. Never.
I don't think there's going to be many who disagree with you. He is out. It's now part of the past. And now all eyes are on the JFF, as Calvin has quite rightly
as I said, Calvin is absolutely right.
Yeah.
They are another part of the problem, because no matter what manager we get, if they don't fix what's going on in that rundown house of the JFS, we're not going to go anywhere. We're not going to advance. We're going to remain stagnant. Jamaican football should have been on such a high level since France 98. Do you get me?
Mm-hmm.
We should have been. So we have not advanced. We've regressed.
Massively.
And that's down to the administration. That's down to, since France 98, what kind of grassroots football programs has the JFF implemented? Have they built any pitches in Jamaica for kids to literally just go out and train? I've seen them been given free money from like clubs and from things. What have you lot done with it? I can't see one thing that has said this was erected by the JFF with a contribution from this. When the Reggae Girls qualified for the World Cup, all I saw them do was promote sponsors, but yet still the Reggae Girls was complaining for their pay.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the Marlies, the Reggae Girls wouldn't even have had a Reggae Girls. But you lot jumped on the bandwagon and just want to suck all what you need to suck out of the teams. That needs to stop. You need to start putting back into the football, because the most important thing, you're the Jamaican Football Federation. So the most important thing is the football. And that's where the focus needs to go back to.
Absolutely. We have two questions in the comment section which nicely link into each other, right? So we have Brown Man saying there will be no more Watson in the
Oh, thank you,
team,
Jesus.
right? Right. Here's another one for you. I'm gonna leave this one with you actually, because you know my opinion on this comment here from Travis.
I agree with you, Travis. Unless it's Ravel Morrison, and you don't know
Wait,
Morrison
whoa.
was
Hold up. How you know why you're laughing and you know why I left it with you. How you agree with Travis, but you don't agree when I tell you?
no. I said I agree. Unless that's why I said it specifically. Unless it's Ravel Morrison,
Why? Why?
because
Why should your
Morrison
favorite
is
player be exempt?
he gets a bly because he was in transition. Javon Watson didn't play for 2
Stop your
years.
foolishness about he was in
Watson
transition.
didn't play for 2 years, and he was in the national team. Plus,
Yeah.
he's like 55.
But you know what, Carlyle, all jokes aside, I definitely think this is an area that we need to clamp down on, because I've spoken
100%.
to you about this like off
100%. If a
air.
player's not playing, he shouldn't be in the team.
Shouldn't be in the team, and it's not even about favoritism. But for us as fans, it's not about favoritism. Yes, we're gonna sit here and banter and say even if he is our favorite player, and if he is our favorite player, he should still be in the team. But bottom line is, guys, that's just carelessness. It's not acceptable at all. And then what do you
At
say
any level?
At any level? And what do you say to the player who is playing out of his socks and not getting called up? What do you say to that player? And that player somehow happens to be close friends with someone in the team.
Yeah, that's going to dishearten him. Imagine playing for whatever team and Javon Watson is sitting at home every day and he gets called up tomorrow. I would be extremely upset. Javon Watson might be a fantastic guy, but at the end of the day, you're not playing active football.
Yeah.
So you aren't even match fit. How are you getting in the team? How are you starting? I used to say that I feel that Watson had Tappa's little secrets hidden on his phone, and he used to just call him and say, bro, if I'm not in the team, these are going to the newspapers. Because there must have been something going on for him to constantly be in a team like that. But 100%, I really hope that I agree with you, Kem, as well. Schaefer was the man for the job. He really was. He was trying to build a structure with Jamaica. But obviously, like I said before, I don't know if you caught it. If you're a mechanic and you know how to fix the car, but you ain't got no tools, there's nothing you can do. And that's literally the position Schaefer was in. He was a mechanic without tools. The JFF didn't provide him with the tools to fix the car.
I know how Mr. Reed, Duck, as I like to call him, I know how he feels about Winfred Schaefer. Guys, this guy's name that you see on the screen, Dr. Kemar Reed. Funny enough, that's how we became friends. I was writing football blogs at the time around about Jamaican football and Arsenal as well, and that's how we became friends. So pretty much Mr. Winfred Schaefer unified us, brought us together as one. And I kind of feel like I'm hoping that with Paul Hall, you're going to feel that vibration that you felt under Winfred Schaefer.
To bring everybody together, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
I'm hoping and praying that does happen. I can see that Ian is still talking about, not Ian, my apologies, Ian. Norton Morris is still talking about Messi, who was referred to as Messi back in their playing day, or maybe even now as players. And I'm pretty sure, like I said, I've seen on social media, no, there's at least one or a few Instagram accounts out there that's called
Messi Marshall,
100%. Alex Messi Marshall. I've also seen other people, perhaps outdated tweets now, maybe from 2016. That was a while ago, guys, referring to Alex Marshall as Messi Marshall. I'm not budging on this one, Norton.
I 100% agree.
And Ian, I'm not budging on this one. I'm not saying you guys are wrong, but I'm definitely saying I've seen
We've
people
seen it.
call
I agree.
Alex.
I've seen it also.
I'm not budging on this one, guys. I'm not.
I think my cousin played Manning Cup, and he was the one that told me about Alex Marshall, and I remember him referring to him as Alex Messi Marshall also.
Yeah, but the thing, Norton, the thing is, that's not their name. that is not their name. What you have to understand is like schoolboy football or Premier League, Jamaican Premier League football now is not just watched by people that's based in Jamaica. So maybe somebody that's based in Jamaica might refer to so and so as Messi Marshall, but there are also people across the diaspora that also refer to Alex Marshall as Alex Messi Marshall.
I think
That's
Alex was called Messi during his schoolboy football days. So even if at club level they didn't call him that, during his schoolboy football time, he was referred to as Alex Messi Marshall.
So I think you definitely can have players who are all the time you see players that's called the next Messi or the next Ronaldinho. It doesn't matter. Players are always going to get that type of comparison, especially when they're flary players as well. But like I said, I'm not budging on this one, Norton and Ian. So we're gonna be going back and forth all night long because I'm not budging. I'm not saying you guys are wrong, neither, but I don't think I'm going to be budging on that. David Nicholson is saying Paul won't do that. What is he referring to?
I think in terms of bringing in players that's not playing.
Oh, okay. Well, I hope you're right, David.
I think I have to agree with David. I think Paul's got a bit more professionalism to him.
Yeah.
He's coming out of professional Premier League or Championship football, which is of a very, very high standard. So I think he's going to bring that level, that standard to the national team.
Do you think that if he does that, right? Because it seems like with every team, and I'm not saying that the current Reggae Boyz is cliquey, but with a lot of team, there is always cliques within
There's
that
always
team.
going to be cliques.
You're always gonna have your team. Like you got
Yeah.
the team, but you have your boys or your girls. That's
But
your squad.
This is why I say Paul's got to come with that swagger. He's got to come with that confidence to say, I'm Paul Hall. Yeah. I've done this. I've achieved this. The players have to look up to me.
Yeah.
I've played at the highest level. I've played in the Premiership. I've played in the Championship. I've been to a World Cup. So you guys, whether you're in your cliques, whether you feel like you're doing this, this, and this, you got to listen to me because this is my team. I'm going to tell you what to do. And whereas I felt Theodore was more of a yes man. Yes, he's achieved things. Yes, he was a Jamaican legend. But I do feel he was a bit soft. If you get me.
Easy going.
Easy, yeah. You're a bit too relaxed. So I think Paul needs to come now and be like, because a good thing about Paul, he has a lot of experience of youth football. A lot of our players are very young.
He has an eye for talent. I'm going to echo what you've just said. Paul Hall, anybody who knows Paul Hall and what he's done, particularly with QPR, Queen's Park Rangers, you are absolutely right. He has an eye for young talent. Definitely. And I think that just goes back to where we're saying that whether it's now, we don't know how Paul Hall is going to do over the next string of games. If he does help us to qualify for the World Cup, perhaps he will be in the job long term. And we're saying if that is the case, then we might just see that fruitful balance of young, promising players and experienced players. And the reason why we're saying that is because of the obvious fact of Paul Hall having a fine eye for young talent.
Like Ezzy, he was responsible for Ezzy, who was brought through.
Yes.
And one thing I've got to say that I need to touch on as well, another positive of Paul Hall's being hired is when we qualified in '98. I remember we needed a run of games. When Dion Burton and Paul Hall and them lot came in, we went on a run. So he's actually been in this position before as a player. And he could possibly transfer that experience onto these players now. Remember, we won like, I think, 4 or 5 games, 1-0 to shoot up the tables during that time. So I feel like with that experience, he's lived it. He can literally motivate the players by saying, listen, we've been here before. I had to do it. And now it's your turn.
I like what Travis has said here, and I think we've touched on this, Travis, but perhaps myself and my special guest, King Carlyle, we probably touched on this very vaguely. What we're saying now is we're about to approach that honeymoon period. You know how it goes when a new head coach or a new manager comes into a team. You want to impress. Make no mistake, every single player will want to impress. I think the only position on that field that is just about solidified is
Goalkeeper.
the goalkeeper position.
Goalkeeper.
Outfield players, you're not safe.
No
You
one
are not safe.
100%.
So to answer Travis' question, I would say, Travis, your comment, I would say you can rest easy on that one, because outfield players, they are not safe. Nobody, in my opinion, definitely can say that they are guaranteed to
No one.
start to be part of the starting 11.
No one, because we actually have competition everywhere. We've got good quality competition everywhere.
Yeah.
That's literally what we said as well, to agree with Travis about getting some more top quality English players. Like we were talking about Gray, we were talking about Godfrey, we were talking about Ivan Toney. Imagine a strike partnership of Mikel Antonio and Ivan Toney. We would bully CONCACAF, because both of them are players
it sounds frightening, doesn't it?
It is very. Both of them are agile. Both of them are quick. Both of them are strong.
It does sound frightening. If you guys have any comments for myself or my special guest, please don't be afraid to throw them our way. Even if we've already touched on them, we'll probably just do a quick little run through for you guys as well. I'm trying to read through the comments. Let me know if there's anything you want me to bring up.
I think we kind of touched on most things that I wanted to really talk about, to be fair.
Let's see what everybody else is saying in the comments.
I think more people are just agreeing, saying Paul Hall bringing more young players from England. I think someone said something about a front three of Low.
This was it.
Yeah, Shaquille. I think he's saying the same thing again. Sign up Damari Gray. Exactly that, Shaquille. I totally agree.
We haven't even touched on him. So many.
Paris as well. I forgot about him.
Completely didn't even remember to give any sing any praises his way. It just goes
Paris,
to show.
Excellent player. Also, you're right, Travis. Totally agree. He deserves a look in. If it's even just to be in and around the squad and to prove himself, I think he does deserve a look in. Even what's his name? A player that's very much overlooked, who plays great football, Martin Davis.
Yes, well. Midfielder.
Yeah. There's a lot of talent there. Jamaica has a vast talent pool of players.
Martin has been around. I've been around well, no longer around the setup, but I remember a time, I think me and you were talking about this some years ago, where literally he was like supposed to be the nicest thing since Ardo bread. He was literally just the guy, the poster child for Jamaica
football.
It's sad to see how things are panning out for him. There's obviously some politics going on there, because it's not about his talent. I've seen players play in lesser leagues. I've seen players without clubs play for the national side. So
and that's something that needs to go. The whole friendship or the whole politics. This is about football and what's best for the nation. We should be picking our strongest, best teams. Our strongest, best squads, our strongest, best 11.
Yeah. I don't care how many English players come. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think you have to tread carefully, though, Travis. It goes back to what myself and Carlyle was saying. When you don't just want any English player or any player from across the diaspora coming in. It has to be players who bleed the black, gold, and green.
Yeah. You can't. Exactly. You have a lot of people that will turn up just because they've heard we've qualified for a World Cup.
Exactly. It's happened in the 98 World Cup as well. Certain players showed up for the World Cup qualifying campaign, and after the World Cup, where were they?
Disappeared.
Exactly. I'll leave you guys in the comment section to figure out who that player is. Never showed up to play for his country again. I wonder why. You don't want to have a repeat of that. And I think that's why it's good to have well, I think that's why it's good to, that's one of the positive perhaps if someone like Tappa, he wasn't willing to just call up or play any and anybody,
anyone,
because
yeah.
maybe he knew or recognized the true nature of certain players. Same with Paul Hall as well, that lived experience. He's been around certain players who took his country for granted, only said yes because England didn't want them, didn't show up after that. I'm not going to be naming no names, Travis, but I'm
No,
not
it's
going
not
to be
Robbie.
naming no names.
And you know what? I gotta take my hats off to someone like Wes Morgan. And I do feel
Yeah,
if Paul Hall can get him in just to give the players a talk or to help with the defense, like get him in to
motivation.
come and help out on that. Because Wes was there when nobody was. He was Premier League champion. He was captain of the Premier League
Big
champions, and he
Wes.
was playing for Jamaica.
Yep, 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 yep. This will be another interesting one, Shaquille. And I hope I pronounced your name right, by the way. If I haven't, I do apologize. I don't know what to make of this. I'm gonna leave it with my special guest. But before I do, the reason why I'm saying I don't know what to make of this is I've heard too many conflicting stories that it's then it wasn't Tappa that was picking the team, it was the federation. And I've always said that if Tappa isn't picking the team and the
Why is he
federation is
there?
picking the team, one, why is he there? But also, who says that? Who makes the calls for substitutions? Because if I'm not picking the team, that's kind of an indication that I'm not also allowed to call in my substitutions.
I have to say, I don't feel, as much as I believe Tappa was a yes man, I
Yeah,
don't feel that any manager would allow the federation to pick my team. It's my neck on the line. It's
yeah.
my job. I'm the face. I'm picking my team. So I don't feel the federation was picking the team. I do feel that was all Tappa. I do feel the tactics was all Tappa. I just
Yeah.
don't feel he picked the right teams or the right players.
I'm not laughing at your I'm not laughing at what you said. I'm laughing because Ian is still going on with this conversation. Ian, I hope this don't mean you're gonna unsubscribe from my channel,
Was he
because
talking
you
about Messi
did.
Marshall still?
Yeah, he is still talking about Ian. I'm still gonna call him Messi Marshall, all right? So I'm not gonna stop calling him Alex Messi Marshall. You're not taking that one away from me, Ian. But like I said, respect to yourself, and I'm not disagreeing with what you've said. But I know that I have seen people refer to Alex as Alex Messi Marshall. Great, because I was worried about pronunciation. I don't like getting people's names wrong. It actually something that I heavily dislike. So that's great. Thank God. I know, Travis, that these are a couple players that my guess was a massive fan of. You remember back then, Carlyle, when we used to
Giles
have
Barnes.
remember when we used to have that partnership between Giles Barnes and Darren Mattocks?
Yep. Yep.
That partnership was entertaining. That was a problem, and I
We did
really
well.
enjoyed that. Yeah, I enjoyed the energy that both of them brought
And
to
we
the team.
played. That was the last time I see Jamaica play good football. Like
Yeah.
play good football, where you're sitting there, you're entertained by just the way the ball was moved, the way the players moved. You saw a team, you saw cohesiveness on the
Mm-hmm.
Schaefer. You haven't seen that since he's left. It's all been individual brilliance when we ever win a game.
Yeah. That's what it was back then. I'm hoping, like we've said, I'm hoping that Mr. Paul Hall can come in and galvanize the nation, because it is definitely needed. Energy is a little bit weak. The energy is a little bit diluted at the moment across the fan base. The guys have touched on a few things there, Carla, that I think you will agree on. Travis saying I wouldn't contact Hayden, so he's referring to Isaac Hayden, from Newcastle.
Okay.
And he's saying that he wouldn't contact. There seems to be alleged what do you want to call it now? Hesitancy. Is that the right word I'm searching for, from Isaac Hayden regarding who, if ever he should play for Jamaica or not, and not just not Ivan Hayden in mind, but with players as such. I always wonder, if you've not played for England at a certain age, what makes you think that they want you?
They're gonna call
And
you.
also, what makes you think that if they do call you up, that they're going to truly value you? Are you happy to only play for England for a handful of times, or do you want to go and play for your country of
Well,
heritage?
a person like Hayden, I wouldn't call him because I do feel there's probably local people that are better than him.
Yeah, yeah.
So he wouldn't get a look in. For you to get a look in as in the Jamaican national team as a player of the diaspora or of a Jamaican parentage, you have to be better than what's available already. If you're not better than what's available locally, I don't see the reason for you to be called. So someone like Hayden, he's not uprooting trees, and he can barely even make the Newcastle team. So I wouldn't see, we would be picking him for picking him's sake because he's British.
Yeah.
And I don't feel we need to, because I do feel what we have at our disposal is probably better than him or on a par with him anyway. So if he's hesitant to play for Jamaica, bro, we didn't want you.
I'm glad that you have said that, because like, I've seen way too many plays, and like I said, it's not just a case of Isaac Hayden. I've seen plays that's just like average players at best, and they just seems to be that reluctancy to play for countries like the Caribbean nations or the African nation. And it's just like, why not commit to them? These are countries that will treat you like royalty.
Exactly. But I think some of them, they don't understand. A lot of people, like, okay, I came to the UK when I was 9. I grew up in Jamaica. I returned to Jamaica every summer. So I was always connected. You have persons that grew up here and their parents have kind of like, oh, forget Jamaica. We're Jamaicans, but forget Jamaica. So they never grew up with that love for their nation. So they don't know what it's like. What's that Watford guy called? Troy Deeney.
Yeah, I knew it would only be a matter of time before
I heard Troy say some stuff about Jamaica coming to him, and he didn't want to go to Jamaica because he didn't know. And I can't knock him as much as I cussed him.
Fairness to him.
I can't knock him because he literally said he knew nothing about Jamaica.
Yeah.
He just knew that's where his dad was from, but he knew nothing about the culture because he grew up with his white mother. So he knew nothing about Jamaica. For Jamaica to approach him and say, "Come and play for us," he's like, "Why? I don't know nothing about Jamaica."
Yeah.
So as much as I said Troy Dean is an idiot, but still, you can't knock him for that. So many of these players who don't want to commit, is the fact that they know nothing about the nation. If someone had brought them there and they would have felt the vibe and felt the love and know what it is about, they would have switched over straight away.
Yeah. We've got another comment here from Travis, and it's almost like he's reading my mind with this one, Carlyle, because this is something that I have thought about. And as much as I'm loving watching Demarai Gray as well, let's remind of ourselves of that match-winning scorcher, that rocket against Arsenal. And it's mad to have a Liverpool fan laughing at that. That pretty much puts everything into perspective. That was outrageous strike. As much as I was happy for him, at the very same time, I'm like, oh my God, this just means that England are going to be coming knocking, surely, right?
The thing with England and Demarai Gray is currently occupying a position that England has a wealth of talent in.
But Carlyle, we know England can be spiteful. Look at their strike force. Strike force. Did they need to cap a player like Tammy Abraham? And that's not me being disrespectful to Tammy, because I quite like Tammy. They could have allowed Tammy to go and play for Nigeria.
No, I think at the time when they capped Tammy, Tammy was just coming through, and I think they had a few issues up front. We had no Mason at the time. They had Harry Kane. You had Vardy had just retired, so they did have a few issues at the time. And Tammy came through at that period of time. I think if it was now, he wouldn't have got a look. Actually, well, now he's starring for Roma, so now they've brought him back in.
The talent has always been there, so that's been there. Just
but I think with Demarai now, for me, I saw Demarai play at Birmingham, and I thought he was excellent. And then he went to Leicester, and I thought he was excellent. But I think managers just never had confidence in him. Then he went to Leverkusen. Again, I think he's better than most what was there. I think Rafa is the first manager to have said, Demarai, I know what you can do, and put that confidence in him, and you see it now. Southgate is a kind of manager that I feel if the media ain't talking about you, and he's not going to pick you, and he's not going to look at you. And sometimes even when they are talking about you, look at Grealish. Grealish had to uproot trees to get into the team.
Yeah.
I don't feel that he's going to really push Damari in like that. I think he's a man that's settled on his team. He knows who's in and around the team. And I really don't see England coming knocking for Damari. I don't see it.
You know what, Carlyle? I'm not going to hold my breath on that one because I just have England down as being quite spiteful when they want to stop a player from being eligible to play for a second nation. We've seen it with them before.
Yeah, we have.
And I can't say that I'm not going to see it with them again, particularly where our players are concerned. We've seen it with Jamaica. We've seen it with Nigeria. Seen it with other countries as well. If they want to be spiteful, they make
I think to be fair now, a lot of players are wising up. I think for Damari, he has to look into himself and say, even if I get one cap, how many more caps am I going to get after that one cap?
Yeah.
Do I want to be someone that got one cap for England and sit and talk about my one time I came on for 10 minutes in an international game against Andorra? Or do I want to go help the nation of my parents' birth, go to a World Cup and become a superstar and a legend for that nation? So that's what these players need to ask themselves.
You know what, Carlyle? I like what you've said. Before I continue, let me just big up Fresh as well, Mr. Manchester United himself. Good evening to yourself, sir. Thank you for tuning in. I'm well. How you doing? I'm gonna go through the comments and get back to what you were saying. Carlyle, but looking back at players like Damari Gray, one of the things that I've been so concerned about, Carlyle, is the way in which we choose to air out our dirty laundry with all of the internal affairs within the camp, stuff that's going on at the federation and so on. And I'm always fearful of it because I'm thinking, would this in turn put off a player like Damari Gray from committing to Jamaica? Because he might look and be like, oh, they've got broken windows over there in that house. I don't know if I want to step foot in that because, things are looking a little bit sticky. But how do you persuade someone, apart from stating the obvious to say, come on, you might be able to play at the World Cup?
I think it can, but I think that would remain secondary based on the players that we've acquired so far. So someone like, for Damari to see someone like Mikel Antonio, who for the last 2 seasons have been up there, West Ham are in top 4, they're leading a charge, and Antonio saying, listen, I'm going to play for Jamaica. I think that could inspire a lot of these other players to say, even though the federation is trash and even though they're very disorganized, if Mikel can go, then maybe I can too.
This is one of the most active that the I don't know, maybe you've been some good luck charm. I can't believe a Liverpool fan has bought me block. It's the killer pool.
It's the shirt.
But I'm reading some of your comments, guys, and thank you so much for your comments. Definitely appreciate each and every one of you. I see people naming names. I'm not going to agree with no one here. I told you I'm not calling nobody's name. Carlyle, you're putting yourself in trouble with someone. Okay. Oh, Mr. Reed. Guys, let me know what you think of this comment here. Mr. Kemar Reed, Doc, as I like to call him. So let's talk about Mason. Different gravy is what I would say about Mason Greenwood. And I'm glad that he touched on this, Carlyle. You know the reason why? I might have touched on this on my previous live stream, and I said that it's just heartbreaking the way England have treated Mason Greenwood when those pictures came out of Mason, I believe it was in a hotel, and Phil Foden. Yeah. You can quite clearly see who has been forgiven and who is still being made.
Be fair, I know some insider information that I'll have to talk to you about off the air about Mason, why he's been frozen out of England. It's not just that cut and dry as to that. There's some other situations going on with him.
Okay.
But someone else that's available for Jamaica that I would love to see play for Jamaica, Emile Smith-Rowe, our first white player.
Yeah, I'm laughing, guys, because
did he get caps recently?
He cannot stand. Yeah, England. You see what I say? England spiteful. You see when you come round and mention Emil Smith Rowe.
Emil Smith Rowe qualifies for Jamaica through both his parents.
England heard you guys talking and said, Emil? No, you've got to be kidding me. Call up Emil. Just like that. I believe he played in the last
Yeah, I think he did. I think he
window.
scored in that massive game where they scored like 1 million goals.
England said, I hear you Jamaicans talking. You're talking a little bit too loud.
Too much.
But on the basis of Mason Greenwood, without tapping into all the politics that's surrounding him, before I get into that, big up yourself, Tennessee Lewis. I hope that you're having a lovely day. Going back to what Kem says. What do you make of Mason Greenwood? I know this is probably difficult. This is why you swerve the question.
All right, listen. Liverpool. Let me cover my bag. Where is it? No, Mason is an extremely talented player. Like, if we were to get Mason, I would be over the moon. Obviously, it's not going to happen because I think he has been competitively capped for England. So I don't think he can switch. But Mason Greenwood is lethal. I think his career so far was stifled by another crap manager, Ollie. So hopefully Ralph, who's a man that can get the best out of youth, will get the best out of him, put him in his position that he's supposed to be, let him learn from Christie, playing through the middle, and let him loose. Because this boy, as far as I can see, has no weakness in his game in terms of his finishing. He could probably bulk up a little bit, but he's young, so his size will come with age. But Mason Greenwood's lethal.
Mason, I know they changed the rules recently. I remember back in the day, like, even if I say back in the day, like we're old, but yes, back in the day, even if a player played football for like the C team, remember there's one particular player who wanted to play for Jamaica back in 1998, played for England's C team, Carlyle.
Yeah, and he's not allowed to play.
And because of that, he couldn't play for
I think
Jamaica.
now you have to play, I think, three competitive games.
Yeah, Mason is capped. I just need to double check if
I'm not sure if he's played three. That's the thing. So maybe he can still.
He's got at least one cap, but I'm not sure if I know a friendly or not.
Hudson Odoi has played for England, but he's allowed to switch because he hasn't played them out.
Yeah, and this is where the mind games comes in. Maybe England knows that, you know, there's no chance of Jamaica taking a player like Mason
but
Greenwood.
You know, I feel like the paradigm shifting because a lot of players internationally now, you've got people like Wilfred Zaha that chose his home nation over England. You've got Callum Hudson-Odoi now who's chosen Ghana over it. A lot of these younger players are coming up and they're saying, listen, I will no longer be held to ransom by England. I'm going to play for the country of my parents' birth. So never say never. If Mason hasn't played all of that and he decides, yeah, listen, it could happen.
I don't know if it's going to happen, Carlyle. That's another thing where I'm not going to hold my breath on that one. But King Jab, we've missed one here. I think he's referring to Luca. Remember that white player that plays for Jamaica. I'm sure I'm seeing him.
I never even knew we had a white player.
You do, man. You do. You've seen him before.
Is it?
You've 100% seen Luca. If I'm not mistaken, that's who King Jab is referring to. It has to be Luca because I can't think of no other white players. Luca is the only one that came to mind. Ian is saying that Hayden is better than what we have. Exactly, Ian. You hit the nail on the head with the last point there. If he doesn't want to play, let him stay. Alone. Mason and Emil have until. Oh, really? That's something I need to brush up on. But yeah, like I was saying, Mason has one cap. I can't remember if that was a friendly or if it was a competitive
he's got one cap.
game.
I do remember him playing once, so he can actually switch.
He can. Yeah, it is Luca.
Yeah, he said it's Luca.
Yeah, and like I said, with players like that, and I would love to see us test the waters again, because I remember me and you talking about Mason from Everton, when he said at the time that, centre back from Everton, that he would, Mason Holgate, that is, guys,
Yeah,
that he would consider
playing for
playing
Jamaica. Yeah.
for Jamaica. I've not heard nothing since then. And I think I spoke to him almost 2 years ago. It was West Ham versus Everton, and I was at the London Stadium. And he said, yeah, it's a conversation that he would be open to, paraphrasing, he would be open to listen to that. So it would be nice if we could go and test the waters, because that's another player that I just
100%.
think we could
100%.
do we you, and we would treat you with greater value than England. What do you make of that?
100% believe. To this day, players like Dion Burton is still seen as a celebrity. And Dion was average, to say the least. But
King
Dion,
status.
yeah, he's got huge status. And the players like that could tell these young players what it felt like to have the whole of the stadium singing your name, to have the whole of Jamaica treating you like a superstar. The thing with us as Jamaicans, when we love you, we love you.
It's true.
There's no half-heartedness about it. When we love you, you're a superstar in Jamaica.
Yeah, it's true.
It's true. So these guys need to understand that if you love Jamaica and you want to represent, and you come and you wear that shirt with pride, you will be lifted up and you will be celebrated for the rest of your life.
I know, Doc. I know. But it's the quality of the player is still there. But you're absolutely right. Injuries hasn't been his best friend. But maybe that's our chance to use that and capitalize. Because you look at Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Injuries hasn't been his greatest friend, but the quality of that player is still there. Bit of a risk at club level. I know you're smiling, Carlyle, because he plays for Everton. But the quality of those type of players is evidently there. So maybe that's one way of Jamaica.
Calvert-Lewin's busy being a fashion model right now. That's why he ain't playing.
Who?
Calvert-Lewin. Did you not see his last magazine where he's wearing skirts and kilts and stuff?
I did see it. He's very big. He's into his fashion. What's the other player at Everton that's like that? They're very, very into their fashion, and I'm glad actually that it's what they've done so far in terms of like expressing themselves, that it's been well received, because like stuff that gets said on social media can at times be extremely horrific. So I'm glad that they're not. Well, I've not seen nothing abusive. That doesn't mean that nothing abusive will come their way, but thankfully, it all seems to be going well for them.
Yeah, but yeah, we just need to see what happens in January. I'm quietly excited, to be fair.
Is that your way of saying that you're approaching January cautiously optimistic?
Yeah, definitely. I'm quietly excited. I want to see if Paul, if he does one of those stupid squads, then I'm going to be the first person to be like, Paul Hall's dead. But if he does stamp his authority and I see him pick his team, so he picks a group of players that I can say, this kind of looks like his choice, his team. It's not just the status quo. Then I'll be, even if we lost, I'll still be happy, because I want to see someone put their team together. I want to see someone play their style of football, and I want to see Jamaica play good football. I'd rather us play good football and know that we're growing than to be playing nonsense and even win, if you understand.
Think we'll probably have to take it. I know we don't have the time to take it step by step, because these games are going to be coming
thick and fast. That's why Tappa should have been gone for a long time. He shouldn't even have been given the opportunity to start this campaign, because he was washed from way before this. So again, that goes down to the JFF. Their poor planning and their poor organization.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, because unlike before, when the January fixture comes around, and after that, there's pretty much no room for error. So that's going to be interesting, how we approach those games. I don't think it's a case where Paul Hall can come in and just clamp down his authority. I think he has to be tread carefully, with great respect to Paul Hall himself, because the last thing you want Is players not playing for you or players
Yeah,
being
like I
against
said,
you?
I personally believe he
Yeah,
needs to talk to his core group of players firstly and have the backing of the seniors. The good thing about Paul Hall, he's based in the UK. A lot of his senior players are based here. So he can actually go visit Leon. He can actually go visit Ethan Pinnock. He can visit Mikel Antonio. He's got a lot of the main players that I would feel will be the backbone. He can visit Ravel Morrison. He can talk to a lot of them before heading back to Jamaica. So he can sit down and say, listen, this is what just present yourself and present what you expect if he hasn't done so already to them face to face. So he's in actually a good position. Whereas Tappa was in Jamaica and it probably would have cost too much for him to fly to England just to speak to a few players. Paul's already here. So he's already got one leg up on that situation.
definitely build on the relationship. It's easier to perhaps forge relationships when you can speak to people face to face. I don't know, some people prefer face to face interaction as opposed to calling me up on the phone. So you're probably onto something there. Guys, before we go, please feel free to send some more questions our way. Maybe we've missed out on a topic that you wanted to hear our opinion on. So please do go and send your questions or your thoughts before we close off on our live stream.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I said. Remember, I
Yeah.
actually said that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it probably comes down to him being a better communicator as well. You can tell by the way he speaks that he can communicate himself in a
And
good and proper manner to the players, which will definitely be beneficial.
like I said, for a person to have been part of a setup of one of the best youth systems outside of the Premiership, he's got little something about him. Because Creepy Heart has produced some great young players. A lot of these players that you've seen at the big clubs, they came through QPR. Raheem Sterling came through QPR. Eze came through QPR. A lot of these young, flourishing players now have come through QPR, and Paul's been there for a while. So his level of man management should be a lot better than Tappa's was. So he should be able to put his arm around the player and say, listen, this is what I require. I know you can do it. And you'll be able to motivate them and get the best out of them, which is something that I think is excellent. That's something he's got going for him.
I'm looking forward to it all. I'm going to side with you when we said earlier on in this live stream that we think that he will go on a healthy run of games and qualify for the World Cup. I don't want to get too carried away, but my God, if that does happen, I'll probably blow the roof off in my bedroom. I don't want to think too deep, but as we approach those...
As I said, I 100% think it can happen. We just have to be wary that he needs the professional, and I'll state it again, the professional backing of the JFF. They need to be as professional as they can be and give him the backing properly to facilitate him doing all of that. So that's not making mistakes like what happened with Antonio, where he needed to bring his doctor and you lot never organized the doctor, or players turning up to the airport and their visas weren't properly sorted out, so they've got to turn back and they've got to wait 3 days and come a day before the match and then expected to play. All those kind of things need to be ironed out.
It's just like you said, it's the logistical side of the games that you definitely need to sharpen up on. Let's see what Doc is saying.
I wouldn't say so, Kem, because I swear he's only been there for the last 2 games. Like, how long ago was he hired?
It's an interesting question. I hear what he's saying because it's a bit similar to what we've seen with Manchester United, or Ollie stepping aside
and Carrick winning.
Yeah, Carrick winning, but also the backroom staff remained the same. I know they're now going through changes internally, but I see what Doc is hinting at here. But also I have to kind of verify if it was Tappa's decision to bring in Paul Hall, or was that a decision made by the Jamaica Football Federation? Because if that's the case, then it kind of says that Paul Hall was more
There, man.
belonging into
I really,
JFF as
I
opposed to
don't think
being,
Tappa. I really don't
yeah,
think Tappa asked for Paul Hall. I think that was
yeah,
a JFF. I think the JFF heard the cries of the people, because people have been screaming Tappa out for ages. But at the end of the day, they couldn't just push him out like that.
mm-hmm,
So I
mm-hmm,
feel it's like when Liverpool wanted to get rid of when they wanted to get rid of Roy Evans, and they brought in Gerard Houllier as the co-manager. It's like a way of easing someone out without just throwing them overboard. So I think he brought in Paul to say he's an assistant. Really and truly, all along, they knew that they had to get rid of Tappa, because they've seen that Tappa was inept.
yeah,
So they brought him in to squeeze him out. So I wouldn't say Paul will be culpable, because if I'm not mistaken, I think he was only there for the last 2 games. And I really do think that wasn't Tappa's choice. And possibly even if he came in as an assistant, if you're an assistant manager and you say, listen, coach, put this, and this person in there, it's then down to the coach to put them in there. Sometimes the coach will be like, I don't agree with you. I'm putting this guy in there. So possibly he was just there on the bench and his input wasn't listened to. So now that he's got his own mandate, he's got his own team, it's time for him to show and prove that he had nothing to do with the nonsense that was going on before. So this is where we judge Paul on being Paul the manager and not
yeah.
Paul the assistant to Whitmore.
This is why I said that it's not necessarily a new page for us. I think now this is a new book. I don't think we're reading from the same page no more. We're now reading from a completely different book, a fresh book. You know, like when you make an order online and that book comes through the door, this is now a new book. It's not the same book that we're reading from, or at least that's what I am hoping for.
Same here.
Brownman is saying, I wonder if the new coach can get a friendly match in England. Listen, Mr. Paul Hall,
cost
QPR
money. The JFF ain't got the money.
unless Paul Hall is going to talk to his friends at QPR and pull a little strings for us. That's the obvious stadium for me. And if we're playing a match in England, myself and my guests, we're already there.
Listen, the last time Jamaica played in England, I think it was, and we played England at Wembley.
Remind me.
Old Trafford.
Don't remind me. Is that when a certain man did the robot?
The robot dance. I was so upset. Actually, Jamaica played 2 games in that 2-week period. We played Ghana at the old Leicester City Stadium, which was Filbert Street. And then we played England at Old Trafford. I went to both games. I was sitting with the Ghanaians, and let's just say I didn't have a good day.
Yeah. He's going back to Doc is talking about Tappa, because Tappa came in around June this year. So he's been there. I think he's been there to see enough. And I think that's probably one of the benefits of Paul Hall as well, is that he has that lived experience. He knows what gets the fans going. He knows what's probably going to get on the wrong side of the
he's
fans.
Been there for that time, Ken, but again, as I said, you're an assistant. So an assistant can give his advice, but it doesn't mean the manager accepted them or took them on board. So we've seen where Ollie was in charge of United. Ollie kept getting slapped by everyone. Michael Carrick takes over for 1 game and he puts in the performance of the season. So possibly Michael was telling Ollie all along, do it this way. Ollie's like, no, I'm not doing it that way. I'm doing it my way. We see what happens there. So like I said, we just got to be optimistic and give Paul the chance to do what he's got to do.
Interesting times that's coming our way, Carlyle, because like you said, he has that experience with QPR, an eye for talent, an eye for young talent. Massive emphasis, huge emphasis on an eye for young talent, guys. And that's why I'm really excited about Mr. Paul Hall, to see what he can do with the young players, getting that balance right between young players and senior players. based off what we know from his past, his connections with QPR. Mr. Devon Porter, good evening to yourself, sir. How is your day going? This one is a huge praise for yourself, Carlyle, because he's agreeing with every word that you have said.
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, it just goes back to everything that we've said so far. I'm definitely excited for what could be possible, for what could happen as a matter of urgency when next month comes around the corner. Guys, I'm gonna be locking off in about 7 minutes time. I've not had my dinner. I don't think my co-host have had his dinner yet.
I have,
So,
trust me.
have you?
My mom landed from Jamaica this morning, so I've been going in on the fish and all the things them that she brought up. So I'm nice
am
right
jealous.
now.
I am absolutely starving, so I'm gonna make something to eat before I go to my bed. So get those final bits of comments coming in, guys. In the meantime, I'm gonna go through the Europa League, because we know. So rather than doing a separate video, guys, around the Reggae Boyz match review, we would have focused on Europa League tonight with Mikel Antonio's West Ham. Let's see if Antonio was part of
On
that
the score sheet.
lineup. Let's see. They actually lost 1-0 against Dynamo. Let's see. I don't see Antonio in this. Unless my eyes are fooling me, but I don't see him in the team sheet, on the team sheet, guys. But nevertheless, they lost 1-0. If we head over or head up to Scotland with Kimar Roof and Rangers, I know he definitely was part of tonight's game.
Guy,
They
Mr.
drew
Roof.
1-1, guys, in the Europa League against Leon, and definitely Roof was up top. Let's see who got the assist for that game. For Leon, they would have leveled the equalizer. Roof came off in the 73rd minute, guys, so he didn't play the whole game. Leon actually got an own goal, and QPR took the opening goal through right with Kamara giving them the assist. So that's Mikel Antonio's West Ham. They lost 1-0 against Dynamo Zagreb, and Rangers drew 1-1 against Leon in the Europa League. how much love we have for Mr. Devon Porter, guys. Put some respect on that man's name. If he's happy, we're all happy. I am well, coach. I cannot complain. Good to see you are tuning into my stream. It may go back and remind you guys of some of the stuff that we touched on before I go. I've got another 5 minutes with you all, a bit of music to your ears. Aside from that announcement of departure by JFF for coach Tappa Whitmore. Just like I said earlier on in the live stream, our press officer, Mr. Earl Bailey, touched on something earlier on regarding VAR. Bit of lovely news coming your way, guys. And it goes from Mr. Earl Bailey. VAR, the infamous video assistant referee system, will be on place for all the remaining World Cup qualifying games starting January 27. Jamaica hosts Mexico at the National Stadium. VAR will be up and running for the first time in Jamaica. So again, like I said, hopefully nobody from CONCACAF is in charge of VAR, because we already know what could potentially
they
happen.
do their thing.
I need somebody from Europe, or I need somebody from AFCON to take charge of that. Keep a watchful
We don't actually. It depends on
VAR.
where in Europe, because we don't want the English VAR people either.
It's true.
We really don't need them.
But you know what? I'm trying to take away that manipulation factor. That's why I was saying maybe Europe or somewhere in the AFCON region, just to shy away from what could potentially happen. But hopefully we won't need to turn to VAR. Hopefully Mr. Paul Hall's side can just go on there and get around. Turn things around, so we won't even need the match officials to give us an assistant.
Right, Richard. I would have been an upgrade to Whitmore.
Roy just went straight to the point. Good evening to yourself, Mr. Richard. Everybody who's tuned in. Before I go, massive thank you to you guys for tuning in to our live stream. This is the first time that I've brought King Carlyle onto my live stream. Hopefully, it won't be the last. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in so far, and to all the guys who have hit the like button. Massive appreciation to you all. Before I go as well, I'm not sure if Carla has heard this bit of news, bit of breaking news for you all before I close off. Maybe some of you are aware of this, maybe some of you aren't. Like I said, bits of breaking news. The Jamaica Football Federation has appointed Vin Blaine as the interim head coach for the women's national team. Vin is tasked with preparing and guiding the team throughout the Women's World Cup qualifiers, which starts in February, guys. So there you go, a bit of breaking news for you where the women's team is concerned. Finally, they've made an announcement where head coach position is concerned. I know you're a fan of the women's national team as well,
Come on,
Carlyle.
big fan. They helped me through my depression of not seeing a World Cup. They brought us to the
I'm
World
gonna
Cup.
have to load that up again. We're gonna have to turn this one up. What did you just say? I
They
need to
helped.
turn this one
Trust
up.
me, they helped me through my depression of not qualifying for a World Cup. I was watching Khadija and the rest of the girls. Listen, they did their stuff. I was so proud. We saw Jamaica on a World Cup stage, whether it be men or women, we still had to support the team in it. So I'm happy. Hopefully they'll qualify again and keep it going, because
Yeah,
our players are doing well. We've got that my what's her name? Is it Swaby for Rangers?
I know you. Guys. This guy, I'm not gonna say obsessed, but he's a
That's
massive fan of
Swaby.
Chantel Swaby.
Yeah, come on.
Okay, so that's what
Swaby
you're referring to,
Swaby is my
Chantel.
second favorite female footballer behind Taylor Hines, who plays for Liverpool Ladies and England.
I'm not gonna knock you. Each to their own. You can have your
Listen,
own
tell
favorite.
all the guys here now, Google Taylor Hines for Liverpool. She's the Trent Alexander-Arnold of the England team.
High praises. Look, Pagan is saying he's finished with you, he's dying with laughter over there. But I definitely, like I said, I know how much the Reggae Girls mean to you, and I know that your support of them is genuine.
Yeah,
Guys,
100.
please go
100.
ahead and give me your last bit of comments. I'm gonna be closing off with this one in a matter of 2 minutes. So go ahead and give me your last comments, and also you as well, Carlyle. How you feel about coming through for your debut on the
Listen,
channel?
I know you called me and batted me up this evening because I owed you a live, innit? So I'm happy I did it. It definitely won't be the last. I'm sure I'll be back, possibly maybe after our first game or stuff, just to see if we got it right, to see if we were right to be optimistic. I'll close off by saying I am quietly optimistic. I feel that this was the right decision from the JFF. I feel that it's a bit late, but it's not too late because we still have an opportunity. So I'm happy. I will say I'm happy, but again, I will stress that nothing will be done, and I hope someone from the JFF is watching this. Nothing will be done until you guys fix your house. Like, as I said, I know I've told you before, I've been cussing out the JFF on their page, and they decided to make me a top fan. And I'm thinking, how are you making me a top fan? Everything I say is bunning you lot out, and you lot gave me a top fan badge. So,
when you told me that, I said, no, they must be trolling you, because the way you talk about the federation, guys, you've heard some people on YouTube and on social media go in on the JFF.
I'm
But
always getting
Carlyle,
at them.
different.
Always getting, they made me a top fan. So hopefully, since I'm a top fan, JFF, listen to your top fan. Fix the house so we can go to the World Cup, please. I want to book my ticket to Qatar. I want to go put on my Jamaican shirt and run around with these Arabs and say, yeah, I'm from Jamaica. That's my team there. I want to celebrate and support our team with pride. So let's make it happen.
I'm going to back you on that with what you've said about fixing the house. The roof is leaking, JFF. If the roof is leaking, there's no point going ahead and changing the locks on the door. What's that going to solve? fix the roof, address the root of our problems, and then maybe then you can see the bulk of your fan base starting to dream. Massive thank you guys to everyone who has definitely not until they change. We're not stopping until they change their ways. To be honest with you, they've made a couple changes here and there, so I will give credit where credit is due. One thing I will credit them for is their use of their social media activity. That has improved massively. So credit to the JFF. Also, I said when I was in Jamaica, I was at the HQ, the headquarters. I went to pick up my press accreditation pass for the game against USA, and the ladies, I kid you not, Carlyle, the ladies at front of house, outstanding. Outstanding, world class service. You know what customer service is like in Jamaica. So to go home and for me to credit customer service in Jamaica, I'm telling you, superb customer service from the ladies who are in the front of house for the Jamaica Football Federation down at their HQ. So they are doing one or two positive things. So I will give them credit for that. But overall, there's definitely, most certainly, room for improvements. And your boy Doc has agreed with you as well, and I'm going to go
thank
back.
you, Kem. Thank you, my bro.
I'm going to go back. Yes, people. Not Kem. Carlyle did say I called him up earlier on and I bad him up, and I did, and I take great pride in it. And I said, look, last time I called Dr. Reed jumped on my channel. Last time I called you, I was waiting and you never show up.
I fell asleep. To be fair, I think I fell asleep.
So I bad him up and he felt bad. And tonight he said he's going to come home and jump on my channel. And I wasn't holding my breath because this guy's memory is like Dory from
like
Finding Nemo. Very forgetful. But no, Carlyle, definitely thank you so much for stopping by the channel. And I hope that we get to do this again sometime in the near future.
100%. I very much enjoyed it. Thank you to everyone that contributed. All the questions, all the comments as well, you guys. So let's keep it pushing, let's keep it moving, and let's continue to support the channel, support the shows, and like let's have the conversation going. So maybe the JFF might see us and decide to fix up, to know that there's genuine fans out there that want to see the best for Jamaica.
100%. Guys, you have been outstanding. You've been sitting here with my special guest, King Carlyle, for almost 2 hours. I can't believe when you're talking about football, time definitely
goes.
flies. Big up everybody in the comment section. I don't want to name you all because I will miss out on someone's name, and I don't want to do that, particularly if you've been here since the start of the live stream. So big up everybody in the comment section. Guys, you have been outstanding as always. Kem, keep calling you Kem. It's because he's an Arsenal fan. Carlyle, hold fire for me when I close off on the stream, just so I can like pick up with you for a short moment before I let you go bed. But to everybody else who has been watching, thank you guys so much as well for sticking with me and my special guest, riding this one out through your evening, through your night. If you're making your way home from work, I do hope that you have a safe travel. Guys, thank you so much. Until next time, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button.